Everybody, I'm Andrew Levine. I'm the CEO of Koinos Group and one of the inventors of Koinos, which is a crazy thing to say because I'm not technical. I'm not a coder. So that's what I want to talk about in today's video. I want to talk a little bit about my background, how I got here, and what it has to do with how we built Koinos and how we made the decisions that we made with Koinos and why we focused on lowering barriers to entry. Because I think a big part of that boils down to the fact that I'm not technical, that I've always struggled. I've been in the blockchain space for a long time. I immediately fell in love with Bitcoin and then Ethereum, but I struggled to figure out what my place, where my place was in this ecosystem. And I think there are a lot of people like that. A lot of people who choose to invest in cryptocurrencies. I think that that's what they're looking for. Is they don't know how they can get involved, and it makes perfect sense to think that, well, maybe by at least putting some of my money to this, i can help I can help move it along. And so I love that impulse, and I get that impulse because that was me. And so today I wanted to talk a little bit about my background and what that has to do with Koinos, and how we get to today where I've helped invent the world's first and only free to use blockchain that has all these amazing features like universal language support, which means that we can allow developers to work in the programming languages that they already know and love, a novel consensus algorithm in proof of burn that kind of is a hybrid between proof of work and proof of stake. It's got the efficiency of proof of stake, but with the decentralization of proof of work. And it's infinitely upgradable. We can upgrade it rapidly so that it can evolve like any modern technology. And I helped invent this, despite the fact that I can't code worth a lick. And of course, the secret is finding amazing technical co-founders who are great blockchain architects and who have incredible experience in the blockchain world. But it all traces back, interestingly, I think, to the fact that I struggled to find my place here, and I was looking for a blockchain that I could contribute to, and I found that in the Steem blockchain, which was the world's first feeless blockchain, where you could just join, right? Steem it gave you an account. Now I later learned that they were eating that cost, and that was a major barrier to entry and created a lot of costs for developers and a lot of friction, and that was something that we ultimately wanted to change and get rid of, and did get rid of with Koinos. But what drew me to it and what made it such a great blockchain, and Steem continues in Hive, and the Hive is onboarding a lot of ordinary people. It's doing great things as an application-specific social blockchain. But that's what attracted me to that project, and that's where I met my co-founders, who were the unsung heroes of Steem, the people who actually built the blockchain and upgraded the blockchain, executing hard fork after hard fork after hard fork, and just dealing with a really unwieldy architecture. But up until Steem, all I could do was make bets, right? So investing in Bitcoin, investing in Ethereum. But that's not how I really wanted to add value, and I don't think that's how most people want to add value. I think it says a lot about the space that the only way most people feel they can add value is by making bets, and that's why you see people making all these bets on all these different protocols, because they're all the same. They all have these minute differences. So it's hard to, and they all have such massive barriers to entry that it's hard to know which one is going to be the one. And so when we left our previous project and started talking about the next blockchain, what blockchain is missing? Why isn't this stuff reaching mainstream adoption yet? And what it came down to was these barriers to entry that were still there, the barriers for developers who had to learn complicated systems, esoteric programming languages, new designs, new models, new ways of building applications. End users who had to learn new concepts. Oh, I have to stake my tokens to do this or that. Entrepreneurs who had to learn all of these complicated systems, you should learn about how the technology works just so that they create a business. And all of these things, each one of them, and many more, were erecting barriers to entry that were excluding 99% of people. And when you start accumulating barriers to entry, each of which excludes 99% of people, you shouldn't be surprised when you don't reach mainstream adoption and you don't have lots of great dApps. And so, and this is still when I look at projects, I sound cynical, I sound biased when I look at new projects that are coming to the market, because that's all I see. I see the barriers to entry, the complexity, how complicated they are just to understand. And I know with 100% confidence, based on my extensive background and experience, that these barriers to entry doom projects to failure. But people aren't looking at it like I look at it, where this is an existential issue. Decentralization has to reach mainstream adoption. Otherwise, we're effed. It has to be accessible to everyone. Otherwise, it's not. And everyone isn't going to use it. And we're going to be stuck with basically authoritarian structures, centralized, top down structures. And we need more bottom up, people powered, decentralized solutions. Now, the problem with bottom up decentralized solutions is that they tend to be very inefficient. And that creates costs. So where smart contracts come into play, and smart contracts are the killer application of blockchain technology for this reason, is that they enable us to coordinate and collaborate efficiently and share value efficiently and align incentives within a decentralized, people-powered, bottom-up organization so that we can rival the efficiency of centralized top-down authoritarian structures. So this is really, really important. And that's what motivated all of us at Koinos Group as we built Koinos from the ground up, starting with the blockchain framework, onto the mainnet, onto the infrastructure and tooling layer, which is what we're building now with Koinos Pro. All that time, we're thinking about how can we lower barriers to entry even further? How can we make it so that users don't need to understand what they're using? Developers don't need to understand what they're using. Entrepreneurs don't need to understand what they're using to build an amazing application and amazing business. Of course, we want to tell them all about it. Of course, we want to educate them about this technology and why it's so empowering. But we shouldn't force them. We shouldn't make that a prerequisite to building. Otherwise, we're just creating barriers to entry. And so as an entrepreneur, as a non-technical person, that's where I added value into Koinos. That's where I contributed to the conversation. And that's where everyone else who isn't technical can make insanely valuable contributions. Because if it's just engineers making all the decisions, and ask them this, I'm not knocking engineers. They'll tell you this. They want the feedback. They want the input. They know they don't think like the user because that's not their job. Their job is to build the platform, is to solve very difficult technical problems. So you have to get in there. You have to talk to them. You have to share with them your experience and the experience of other people who maybe are too afraid to speak up. And that's why we promote. I try my best, I might fail, to promote a culture where critical feedback is promoted, because it's so critical to lowering barriers to entry and making this technology, making blockchain technology, making smart contracts, making decentralization accessible to everyone. So that's a bit about me and my background. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please retweet, like, share. If you have any questions for me, let me know in the comments. If you want to know anything more about me or Koinos Group, let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.